Well, hello, everybody. We're getting ready to call this meeting to order. Is everybody here that needs to be here? Okay. Rosie, are we ready to begin the meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair, we are ready to start whenever you are.
Thank you. It is 10:17 a.m., and I call the September 11th, 2025 meeting of the SDCERS Business and Governance Committee to order. Rosie, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you. Moving on to Section 3, public comment. Rosie, do we have any public comment today?
No, Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment for today's meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to Section 4, B&G action items. We have, thank you. We have two action items on today's agenda. Our first action item is staff's recommendation to adopt a calendar year 2026 B&G meeting schedule. Greg, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Bobby. It's good to see all of our committee members here this morning. Thank you very much. Every year we like to put out our standard calendar, just so everybody can put the dates in their calendar books, and just to kind of get everybody on the same page. Also, over the years, we've added dates for a board retreat, which you usually have in February, and also more recently, networking events. If you will notice on this standard calendar, those all say to be determined. And so first talking about the board retreat, we generally hold those in February. I love board retreats, and I would love to attend the 2026 board retreat, but my daughter's being married about the same time we're holding that retreat. So I was going to beg the committee and the board's indulgence if we could maybe hold the retreat in April, if that would be acceptable. And we would, I would work with Rosie, and we would canvass the board to find what is really the best date in April to get that done. So would that be okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
And congratulations to you and
Thank
your
you.
daughter.
I've got one launched, and now I'll have both of them launched, so it'll be good. The second piece is the networking events. I know that we have board members that hold networking events, and I try to schedule some networking events. And so I wanted to be more flexible with that, rather than me just picking some dates and going, this is our networking events, is to, again, canvass the board. I think Mr. Brewster has one scheduled for the fall of 2026. And so I was thinking about maybe doing 2025. But can I be so brash to assume you're going to do it in 2026? Maybe you're holding more than one.
If you don't mind kicking in, yeah, sure. Yes, you can anticipate that.
Yeah. So I was thinking, doing one in the spring, one in the summer, and one in the fall. And I thought maybe, again, we would canvass some dates, maybe in March and August. And I apologize, I think you're gone in August, but I didn't know what other dates would be good. That sound okay?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Then with that, we could just simply approve the standard calendar as presented to the committee.
Perfect. Would any committee member like to speak on this matter? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second?
Madam Chair, it was moved by Paul Lotz, seconded by Christiana Gauga, and please feel free to cast your votes, committee members. And with all votes in, Madam Chair, this motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosie. Okay. Our second action item is staff's recommendation to amend various SDCERS policies and rules which are specifically noted on the committee agenda. Staff's recommendation to amend the overpayment and underpayment of benefits policy, the underpayment and overpayment of contributions policy, Board Rule 6.60, member to enter drop at the beginning of the pay period, Division 1 of the board rules, and Division 10 of the board rules. Johnny, will you please introduce this item?
Of course. Good morning, Bobby and committee members. I just want to talk about two of the policies, the over-underpayment policies, as well as Board Rule 6.60. If you recall, at the February, May, and June meeting, the board struggled or tackled what to do with their discretion for overpaid benefits, and when the board settled on doing a 3-year look back on correction of overpaid benefits caused by SDCERS or plan sponsors. The red line version of that decision is in your material, along with a few other changes. We took this opportunity to really revamp, make these policies better. I want to highlight a few of those changes. Staff's recommending not to collect any overpayment of $250,000 or less, which is consistent with IRS regulations. We also want to have, if we cannot collect these overpayment benefits or underpaid contributions, using reasonable efforts at the CEO, be able to close that matter versus formally ask the board to close certain matters, and to report on any of those issues of $10,000 or over. And the last change that we recommend that I want to highlight is we'll continue to report on over underpayments of $10,000 or more and any updates to that, but to stop reporting annually the $1,000 reports. Those amounts are smaller, and we've really struggled with the value of having those reports and trying to keep track of that versus really the larger concern is how are the larger corrections affecting our members. The other item I want to talk about real quick is 6.60. In the last board meeting, staff had recommended or asked this board to really take away the CEO's discretion to waive that rule, which requires requires a member to enter drop at the beginning of the pay period. And the board wanted to have the CEO retain some of that authority to waive that rule in situations to benefit the member. So you asked us with how can we do that, create that rule more narrowly, and we've come up with the suggested language, which is to allow a member at certain times to take advantage of certain benefits if they vest, if they're eligible to enter drop within that last pay period. So those two benefits are before the end of the fiscal year, so you can take advantage of the cost of living adjustment, sometimes granted July 1st. And the second one is to enter drop in late October in case the, annual supplemental benefit is granted. So those are kind of some bigger chunks of money. And I think that more narrow exception is something that I think the more wieldy for the CEO. With that, I'll take any questions. Otherwise, we do need a vote on this.
I have a question. Regarding 6.60,
Yes.
will staff advise the member? I mean, we're not sure that all members would be aware of a potential pay increase. They should be aware of the supplemental benefit coming out, but will staff take an active role in that and advise members that when they come forward, maybe you want to wait a month to do that?
Natasha's nodding her head. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you, Natasha.
That's all we needed to hear. Thank you. Thank you. Chris?
Two questions, Johnny. First of all, this is great. I'm very pleased with all of this stuff personally, and I think it's in the best interest of the members. I have maybe a nuanced question about, and I'm sorry I didn't look at this more carefully, about the issue of interest. As I recall, the city agreed, due to a labor agreement or whatever, that they would absorb interest in these kinds of cases. Is that true of the port and airport as well? This is overpayments?
Yeah, the port and the airport do not have that agreement.
Okay, so in this case, that waiver of interest would still be there for the city folks, and whatever, they would cover the 3 years. The airport and port folks would need to repay the principal plus interest then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then the only concern I have is on I'm not quite understanding why you don't want to report on the corrections of $1,000 or more. I understand it's a work issue, but from the perspective of just the board understanding the magnitude of corrections in terms of numbers or whatever. Anyway, Sandra, let us know.
Yeah, Greg
Go
had
right
his hand, all right. It's actually just that, the formatting of that, an annual report that has just a bunch of names on it, and we are going to continue to report out just in the regular Ben admin status reports on those kinds of corrections that are over 1,000. You'll see them, I was going to say monthly, but you'll see them throughout the board reports. And then I think I probably still will do some kind of a report out, but it's not going to be a list of names. I think it'll probably just be more categories and statistics on the corrections. So you will still see, you'll still have the transparency on any correction that's over 1,000. It just won't be in one annual report.
Okay, but I thought that the way the policy was changed was to stop reporting at all, so are
1,000 or less. We're not going to report on 1,000 or less.
I think we took out the annual requirement for reporting 1,000 or more, and I think what Sandra's saying, just as a matter of transparency, in course, she will be reporting that as part of her normal B&G report.
If I can add
Okay.
some context. When Sandra came into her new position, one of the things she started looking at was taking a fresh look at how we support the board in their oversight of operations. And she looked at some of these reports and went, they're not really useful. I think we can better support the committee and better support the board. So Sandra and I should say Sandra and her team, have been looking at how do we better let the board know, what adjustments we make. Because some adjustments are outside of our control, and some adjustments are definitely our fault. And, I think it's good, rather than lumping all those together, is to try to tease those apart. One of the ones we talk about regularly are when we have late notifications of death. That's technically not a SDCERS error, but we want to know about that and quantify it so we can say, if that's a big problem, what other things do we need to do to change operations so we can minimize that? So I'm really appreciative of Sandra and her team. They're kind of trying to tease those populations out to say, what are they? What's the trends? Where are we seeing that over time? And so kind of a work in progress to actually help the board make sure that your staff is doing a good job, and plus also just to put tools in there so that we can look at it as management to say, where do we need to put resources? How do we address these in a better way? So yeah, it sounds like, we're getting rid of this report, but it's part of a kind of a bigger picture that we actually want to try to improve transparency management.
Well, I definitely advocate making the board packets smaller.
May I have a motion and a second?
And Madam Chair, it was moved by Paul Lotz, seconded by Christiana Gauga. And committee members, please cast your votes. And with all votes in, Madam Chair, this motion passes 6-0.
That's great. Thank you, Rosie. Moving on to our reports. Natasha.
Good morning, everyone. I just have a few highlights from the report to share with you today. First, it's about the call center. So at the time I submitted the report, we had noted a drop in the call center volume since the last board meeting. I know we had a lot of discussions, and we thought this might signal a new normal, primarily tied to fewer health-related inquiries. However, apparently all I had to do was put it in my report to be proven wrong, because in August, we jumped right back up again to almost 1,700 calls. So it was just an anomaly. I guess everybody was on vacation in June and July. So we are really back to where our usual volume was. But even with the increase in call volume, the team, who is now currently fully staffed, did exceed the target with an average wait time of 66 seconds. So they are, it helps that we have everybody that on board, but they are knocking it out of the park. So I just wanted to acknowledge Andreas, Jen, Michael, Liz, Tomas, and Monica for all of their hard work. Moving on to the survey results, you notice that my report was a little longer than normal. Sorry, Chris, but one time a year. It's good stuff. So I want to highlight our webinar outreach. Our very capable communications manager, Jessica Taylor, conducted 28 webinars during FY25, reaching 688 attendees. So about 60% of the attendees completed the post-event surveys, and the feedback on both the content and Jessica's delivery was excellent. So I definitely encourage you to check out that report. I want to have one comment. Again, there's several comments that we wanted to highlight, and that's in the report, but here's one that I thought was interesting. One gentleman wrote, it answered many questions that he didn't think to ask. Knowing these things now makes me wish I would have attended sooner. I retired from the military a few years ago, and it was a requirement to attend sessions about 2 years out. Nobody wanted to go, but once they did, they were glad they had, and they learned how to set themselves up for success. We also implemented surveys for our counseling appointments. We started that in May, right ahead of our busy year-end schedule. Just for context, we had about 955 total counseling appointments FY25, so quite a few. The majority were for drop entry and exit, followed by a high number of in-service retirement appointments. For May and June and July appointments, we did send out about 288 surveys. We received 66 responses. That's about a 30% response rate. One particularly interesting survey result, 94% of respondents said they learned new information during their session of things that they did not know before. So they are obviously finding it of value. All the counselors received excellent comments, but I'd like to share one in particular about Sarema. Sarema was exceptionally welcoming, engaging, understanding, kind, good-humored, and showed sincere personal interest in my and my wife's situation. After spending a full session with her, we felt much more confident and at ease about my decision to retire from the port at this time. Upon leaving, I even told her I was sorry I wouldn't be retiring again because it meant I wouldn't have another opportunity to be counseled by her.
Oh, nice.
So,
Oh, nice.
great comment, and several more like that for both for all the counselors. So I just wanted to acknowledge Jessica and our counselors, Sarah, Sarema, Selene, as well as our call center supervisor, Andreas, who was assisting with drop exits because they continue to exceed expectations and represent SDCERS very well as far as customer service and professionalism. So I really appreciate all their hard work. It's been a very busy year. Last couple months were very busy, but they are maintaining their patience and their compassion and really doing a great job. So just wanted to acknowledge all of their work. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the report.
Thank you, Natasha, and please say thank you from the board.
Yes.
We really appreciate their good work.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Just
Thank
going
you.
to also say the same. It was made known to me a certain individual that needed some help, and I got to hear how Natasha and your team handled it, and I'm very thankful for the excellent work that you and your team did.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Natasha, just a
Go ahead.
question. First of all, yeah, fantastic survey results, and maybe I want to go back to another retirement interview. Anyway, maybe they'll find some more money for me if I go back at this point. There was one issue that you brought up about people registering for the portal, and you ran into a glitch there and so on.
Yes.
And basically, if members of the committee are unfamiliar about the registration there was some sort of difficulty with people registering to get initially register.
Yep.
And I understand that you just had a capacity issue of the number of licenses and so forth. My question is only, is there not some process of automatically deleting accounts when a member dies?
So we actually took a look at our processes. So we met with IT to look at what processes were in place that cleaned up the system, so to speak. So we are looking at making sure that we implement the process. So it is we took care of it now, but we want to make sure that we have that automatic process in place to take care of those situations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great report. Sandra, Benefits Administration.
Good morning. You have in your materials a new version of the Benefits Administration Status Report. I made some formatting updates and added some graphics to show all the good work that the team does in processing these benefit applications, and to show some patterns and trends in the data as well. I also updated the reporting on the corrections over 10,000 and put them in the Benefits Administration Status Report, so you have one less report in your materials. This is probably not the final version of this report. I'd like to do some more, maybe some categorization of those corrections, and if I can get them into a graph, Greg's going to be a really happy guy. We'll put some color on there. We'll make them look good. There was one highlight from the corrections portion of the report that I wanted to point out. We had a fairly large underpayment of benefits, which was recently completed. So just a little bit of background. For most members, the new retirement factors that were put in place in the early 2000s are the best choice that gives you the highest benefit, even if you are eligible for the old factor. So we recently had a member come in to retire who was eligible for old factor, and member services and the BA team noticed that the system did not automatically generate an estimate for old factor. So they ran that estimate and provided it to the member, but that got staff thinking, were there other people out there who had not been offered the old factor when they came in to retire? And we found Mr. Frank. So we ran his benefit and corrected him going back to his retirement in 2016, and he got a pretty substantial refund, and his benefit is correct moving forward. So I just wanted to give a shout out to retirement analyst Chris Myers for his attention to detail and his curiosity, which always helps. And also wanted to give a thank you to Monty Pareto for working with the airport on their audit of the implementation of the Social Security opt-out vote. Monty was able to verify the updates were accurately made in the system, that we are using the correct PEPRA compensation limits for both of those groups who opted in and opted out of Social Security, and that the retroactive corrections to pensionable salary were all done correctly. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Great
Sure.
report.
Thank you.
Michelle, IT.
Good morning. I have a shorter report today. Seeing that we're very early in the fiscal year, IT has a lot of projects that we have in progress, but no major milestones to report. I'll highlight the projects that we have that map to our IT strategic plan that are in progress. We have our migration to the M365 Office and Exchange environment. We have a migration to a new domain. We will be migrating to SDCERS.org. We're currently SDCERS.org. We'll be migrating to SDCERS.gov within the M365 project. We also have the IRIS Workflow Business Process Management migration in progress, workstation server operating system updates, and database updates and encryption at rest. So our team, all team members on the IT staff are engaged in these early phases, so they're all working diligently on these projects. And like I said, we don't have any milestones, but I expect in the next reporting period, we'll have some substantial updates to report. I'm also pleased to share with you that our embedded staff member, Alfredo Nieto, who works with ZenSAR, he supports end users, desktop management. He's been recognized for ZenSAR and nominated as Employee of the Year.
Oh, great.
And this is wonderful, yes.
Great.
It was a nomination based on his customer service, his longevity with our organization, and his excel of excellence. So we appreciate all of his contributions to SDCERS, and we're very proud of him and thank him for his continued service. And with that, that concludes my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you.
And we have a special treat today. We have a report from Ted.
Good morning, everybody. So I had a birthday last week, and Greg didn't get me a gift, but he allowed me to present at the board meeting. So happy birthday to me. This isn't Tedvember yet.
No, it
So
isn't.
this is a nice little warm-up. You have my packet of information in front of you, and I provide the same information periodically throughout the board year. This is a special time for the finance division because right now we are in the middle of our financial statement audit, and I will get even busier coming up here during the month of September. In looking at the information I presented, I provide you with unaudited financial results. So you can see the financial statements as of June. More importantly, something that people are paying close attention to is what our budget did as of June the 30th. And I'm happy to present the fact that we came in $372,000 under budget for FY25, or approximately a 2% savings. The information there is such that we work with information from the city of San Diego, but until I get to the end of June, I'm not sure where those numbers are going to be. For instance, I get an additional bill from the city related to fringe cost allocations because they close out their year, and that's something that we end up having to pay for in an arm's length transaction with the city. The budget is such that we treat this as a spending plan. We spend a lot of time with the division heads planning in the January timeframe using 6 months worth of actual information, and then we have to project out for the remaining part of the year and the next fiscal year. So it's always a good thing that when we project that we're going to come under budget, that we did in fact do so. And with that, finance, as I said, is starting the year-end audit procedures, but at the same time, it's still business as usual. We continue to pay accurate and timely benefits, and I'd like to thank Rebecca Shi and her staff member for doing so. And then I'd like to thank Fong Nguyen, who is on the financial statement side and operational accounting side, who works with me on the audit quite closely. Him and his staff are really instrumental in helping me prepare the ACFR, which we will talk about during the month of November. And with that, I will open the floor to any questions you may have.
I have a question for you. Is the SDCERS budget consolidated with the city's budget?
You know, to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure how they roll up the information into the city reporting structure. They do provide, and I will.
They'd probably be very happy to hear about your under budget.
We do not roll our budgets up in with the city, nor does the city council or the mayor have any discretion over SDCERS budget. It really remains with the SDCERS Board of Administration. However, we are in the city's budget, the ADC, and within the ADC is actually a small charge for administrative fees.
Right.
Which is actually calculated by the actuary as an assumption, so to speak. So we're not, and we are in the city's budget.
Well, that clarifies everything.
Yes.
Thank you. Unlike the financial statement, which is rolled up into the city's financial statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
good work. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Do we have any questions on the other reports that are included in the packet.
Yeah, Johnny, a couple questions on the legal division report. You mentioned this issue about insurance claims for uncollectible overpaid benefits. Is that a new effort you're making that we
Yes.
haven't done before? Can you
Yes.
just expand on that? What's going on?
Yes. So the board purchases fiduciary insurance. One of the insurances this board and staff has always wanted is if SDCERS staff messes up, do we have insurance for that versus trying to collect that money back from the retirees? And we've been told that that insurance doesn't exist. But within our fiduciary insurance, there is a sublimit for situations where we have overpaid benefits and we cannot collect them. And that limit is $100,000. And we have exercised that and received the money. So I'm very happy about that. My broker tells me they will no longer offer that insurance going forward because we have exercised that, and so it may be short-lived, but it's not a whole lot of money in the big scheme of things. But I do think it shows us what kind of efforts we're taking to make sure the system's whole and collect the money that we can. Thank you for asking about it.
So this is great, but a short-lived benefit.
I think so.
Oh, okay. And then second question was, when you report on I noticed that the legal divisions, this is from Ted's report, that the legal division's budget is over by some amount or whatever. And I see that there are some additional. At what time and under what circumstances do you report to us about essentially this case has cost X amount so far, and we have Y chance of prevailing, and here's what it could ultimately cost. In that context, what do you want to do, board?
Good question. Most of our litigation, if not all our litigation, isn't a cost-benefit situation in that most of the time the member's asking for benefits for which we cannot give. And so historically, SDCERS has not settled those, offered those, because there are fiduciary issues with giving benefits that aren't allowed in the plan. With that said, there is cost-benefit analysis for litigation. And so we normally handle some of those conversations in closed sessions. Admittedly, I haven't talked about every case in dollars and cents. If that's something the board wants me to do, I can be prepared to do that at future meetings.
Well, from my perspective, I just think, from a business perspective, in the cases that we might, and I agree with you about those points where members are asking for something that we'd feel we can't legally offer, right? And they're going to challenge that. And we don't want to set precedents under those circumstances, I agree. But in these other cases where it might be a business decision, I think the city council faces this all the time, right, Brett, where something's coming forward and some litigant is asking for X amount of dollars, and the attorneys are saying, or the city attorneys are saying, we think we can prevail, but we might not, and they're offering a settlement of whatever amount of money, and the council decides just for business reasons, right, for risk management reasons. And I think that we should approach things in the same way in cases where there is discretion on our part.
Thank you. I'll note that.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have any comments? Greg, do you have anything to share with us today?
Do you want to be last?
Actually, I have nothing to share. I defer my time to Mr. Brewster.
I just wanted to thank you, everybody, so much for the decision on the corrections. I think that's a huge thing for our members. I know we wrestled over that. I appreciate staff figuring out a way to get this done. I can't tell you how many comments I've had from the retiree organizations about these unexpected bills for money that the member never expected that they were going to have to pay. And it's not a perfect solution. In some of these cases, they're going to have a lower benefit for the rest of their life and so on. But it's a huge decision, and it's demonstrative of a real concern for our members on the part of the board and staff. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Chris, for sharing that. Johnny, are there any closed session matters?
No.
None? Okay. Then I believe this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.